Are you wondering if the latest 9-year-old security flaw has already exposed your system's private SSH keys? Do you want to know how California's upcoming age verification laws will actually affect your favorite open source distribution? If so, you're in the right place. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which systems are at risk, how to patch them, and why a massive new legal shift might change how you run Linux forever. We've got a packed lineup today, including a brand new enterprise operating system release that promises 15 years of support, and a look at why Linus Torvalds is pushing back hard against a flood of AI-generated noise. But first, we need to talk about a major legal battle brewing in California. The state is making a massive pivot that will split the Linux ecosystem right down the middle, and we'll get to why this matters for your daily driver in just a moment. Let's start with California's controversial Assembly Bill 1043, the Digital Age Assurance Act. Passed late last year and set to take effect in January 2027. This law originally demanded that operating system providers collect users' birth dates during device setup and expose an age verification API to apps. Think about that for a second. How on earth is a decentralized, volunteer-run, open-source project like Arch or Debian supposed to build, maintain, and legally defend a centralized identity tracking database? The backlash from the open source community and privacy advocates was intense. If left unchanged, this law could have effectively outlawed the distribution of standard Linux ISOs in California, or forced them to become privacy-invading, tracking-heavy platforms. But here's the payoff. This week, Assemblymember Buffy Wicks proposed a major amendment under Assembly Bill 1856. The new language explicitly exempts any operating system distributed under license terms that permit users to copy, redistribute, and modify the software. This means Debian, Fedora, Ubuntu, and Linux Mint are officially safe. However, there is a massive catch that most people are missing. The exemption is strictly based on open source licensing. Because Valve's SteamOS ships with the proprietary Steam client and storefront pre-installed, it does not qualify for this exemption. This means the Steam Deck and other SteamOS-powered devices might still be legally forced to implement mandatory age verification at setup. It's a fascinating split that highlights the real-world regulatory consequences of mixing proprietary layers with open-source foundations. Next up is a critical security alert that affects almost every major enterprise fleet, cloud image, and local installation. Security researchers at Qualys have just disclosed details on a severe local privilege escalation vulnerability tracked as CVE 2026-4633. The terrifying part, this logic flaw has resided in the mainline Linux kernel since November 2016. For over 9 years, an unprivileged local user could have exploited this bug to gain absolute root access. The flaw lies in the kernel's trace dumpability logic. By abusing a tiny timing window when a privileged process drops its credentials and pairing it with the PIDFD getFD system call, an attacker can hijack open file descriptors from a dying root process. This is not a theoretical concept. Qualys has already developed and verified 4 working exploits targeting standard utilities like Chage, SSH keysign, and pkexec. An attacker with basic local access can easily read your shadow file, exfiltrate private SSH host keys, or execute arbitrary commands as root. Fortunately, the fix is already upstream, and major distributions like Debian, Fedora, and Ubuntu have rushed out patched kernels. If you cannot reboot or patch immediately, there is a simple workaround. You can temporarily mitigate the threat by raising the kernel's Yama ptrace scope to 2 using sysctl. This blocks the exploit path entirely by requiring cape cs ptrace for process attachment. If you manage shared servers or multi-tenant hosts, check your kernel versions and apply this mitigation immediately. Speaking of long-term stability and security, Canonical has officially launched Ubuntu Core 26. This is their minimal, immutable operating system designed specifically for industrial IoT, edge computing, and medical devices. What makes this release stand out is Canonical's commitment to providing up to 15 years of security maintenance. In a world where devices are deployed in the field and forgotten, having a decade and a half of guaranteed security patches is a significant win for enterprise fleets. Under the hood, Ubuntu Core 26 introduces some impressive engineering. Over-the-air updates are now using an improved snap delta format, reducing update sizes by up to 90%. Base system updates that used to be 16 megabytes are now compressed down to just 1.5 megabytes. Additionally, Livepatch is now officially supported on ARM64 architectures, allowing operators to apply critical kernel security updates on edge devices without a single second of downtime or a system reboot. If you prefer your Linux on the desktop to be a bit more cutting edge, Nitrux 6.1 has officially landed. This immutable system-free distribution is famous for pushing boundaries, and this release is no exception. It is officially powered by the brand new Linux 7.0 kernel series, fully patched against the recent CVE security flaws we just discussed, and optimized with CachyOS performance patches. Nitrux 6.1 features the Hyprland dynamic tiling Wayland compositor, which now utilizes a clean Lua-based configuration system. It also introduces Vicinae, a raycast-inspired focused launcher that replaces Wi-Fi. If you're tired of traditional desktop environments and want to experience a highly optimized, modern tiling desktop running on the absolute latest kernel, Nitrux 6.1 is definitely worth a look. Finally, let's look at some interesting developments from the mailing lists. Linus Torvalds is openly frustrated with the state of kernel development, and the culprit is AI. With the release of recent kernel candidates, Linus noted a significant flood of automated AI-generated bug reports. Because multiple researchers are running the exact same public AI tools against the kernel source, maintainers are being buried under duplicate, low-quality reports on private security lists. Linus warned that this pointless churn is bloating release candidates with trivial fixes for old, non-critical issues that should wait for proper merge windows instead of cluttering the stabilization phase. He reminded contributors that even trivial fixes carry a small risk of regression. His advice to developers was clear. If you use AI to find a bug, don't just copy-paste the report. Read the documentation, understand the code, and write an actual verified patch. Human understanding must guide the tools, not the other way around. Tools. If this week's security coverage caught your attention, you'll want to check out my latest video where I break down the NGINX pull slip vulnerability, bind 9, and pin theft. 3 real active threats explained in plain terms. That video is on your screen right now. If you found this useful, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one.